Hello and welcome to Negative Feedback. This week I will be bringing you a sort of lo-fi special edition Q&A. Basically we couldn't fit in the normal production of the normal episodes, so I thought better than not uploading at all, let's try out something new and let's go for the more vlog-esque type thing. Hopefully you enjoy it and hopefully back to normal next week. I think there's a lot of different options really. It depends what you want to do. If you want to get something where you can learn the whole fundamentals of photography and get really into the settings and what everything does, you should definitely pick up an SLR. Maybe something like the Olympus OM10 is really good for the price. Or I guess you could go for a Pentax K1000, or you could even go for the one I went with, a Canon FTB, which isn't the best camera but is by no means bad. And with them you won't be limited by anything, whereas the other option I'd go for is a point and shoot, where you'll be limited but it helps you out. So if you're not as into it for learning the whole art of photography but you just want to take some nice photos on film, definitely think about getting a point and shoot instead, something really easy to carry around in your pocket. Maybe something like the Olympus XA or the Olympus Mu1, a good cheapish alternatives to the more popular point and shoots. I think the two important things for me is not necessarily skimping out on the cost of film or developing. It does make a difference what film you shoot, and it really does make a difference who handles and processes your film. It will really affect the end results. And the second thing is just to shoot as much as you can. You'll learn far more through your own errors and mistakes than from watching people. Like obviously you do learn tips from peers. You don't necessarily get the same, especially when it costs you to make that mistake shooting film. You take it in a lot better than shooting digital, and the only way you get better is by doing it a lot, and that helps with anything. The more you do it, the better you are. I use the Light Meter app on my phone, which is simply called Light Meter. It looks like this. It's got an ad. Can't be bothered to pay for the full version. It works perfectly fine. I do have a Lumu as well, which I think is great. That is another alternative if you want something really specific. I've never used something else, and both of my cameras do actually have a light meter built in, so I don't feel like it's completely necessary to have one anymore, but sometimes I just like to check. I definitely think for anyone looking for a light meter, unless you're doing very finite kind of slide work or where you need readings of more specific things much further away, you'll be fine with your phone. Personally, I drop all of my film into a ProLab, just the best way to get the best results. I use Bayer in London, which I just can't fault on customer service. Way more friendly than anywhere else I've ever been, and the results are incredible. But I did used to scan and develop all of my black and white film at home. I've never really had good results scanning colour film at home, so I only really stuck to the black and white, especially with it being slightly easier to process the maintaining of the chemicals. For that I use the Nepson V600, which is great for medium format, I felt, but I never really got results that I was too happy with on 35mm. I think a flatbed's never really going to do it justice, and you kind of need to get a dedicated scanner or just drop it in somewhere. I guess it all started when I was about 11 and I bought myself my first ever digital camera, which was a point and shoot, which I basically just used to take pictures of anything. It was about the same time, I guess, when Facebook started to kick off, or just social media in general, and I used that to take pictures of me and my friends, which we put on Facebook. I got really into Photoshop at that time, and really into photo manipulation and kind of making graphic design-esque things, which really led me into wanting to pursue photography, which is when I bought a Nikon D3000, I think, when it came out. Saved up when I was about 13, 14, and I bought one of them, which was mainly for taking photos of my friends skateboarding. That was a great period. I had it for about a year before I upgraded to a Canon 600D, which I bought whilst on holiday for a great exchange rate in America, and I shot with that for the next like 3 years, which was just such a great camera for anyone wanting to get into photography back then. It still is great to this day, really cheap now. And it was about that time when I was 14 that I went on work experience to a wedding and event photographer, stayed at his studio for 2 weeks and learned way more than I think I ever could have in education. And I stayed working with him up until about last year, I guess, just doing odd jobs and helping out with a lot of things, general assisting and moving on to a lot of video work, which kept me occupied and learning way more than I think I ever would have in education. And it was about the age of 17, I think. I then bought my next camera, which was a Canon 5D Mark III, which I bought off of the person I was assisting for an extremely good price as a bit of a favour. And with that, I went on to kind of start doing some goodish work. It wasn't until I went to university 2 years ago where I picked up a film camera. I decided that my hall's walls looked very bare, and I picked up a Canon FTB for £10 on eBay with a 50mm. And I decided I'd be taking pictures of what I got up to and my friends, and getting them printed and making a little collage like most people do at uni. After like 5 rolls of that, I kind of forgot about it until I decided to buy a Yashica T4, which was, the idea was just to have something to carry around with me. I'd always be trying to edit my photos to look like film, using Visco, etc., trying to get that film look on digital, and I decided, why didn't I just shoot film in the first place and stop bothering with wasting all my time trying to edit it and end up just shooting it in the first place. So from then on, I started to upgrade and just completely switched to film, where I switched my 5D for a Sony A7S, which I now use for video, and got a Leica M6 and Leica lenses, which I now use on the Sony, so that everything's easy to work and manual. Never really looked back from switching. It's just a better workflow for me, not having to go through so many photos as when I shoot digital is a massive benefit. I definitely enjoy just shooting 36 photos and picking 10 instead of shooting 300 and getting a few that I like. Most of the time I just take a camera and a bunch of film. I don't really go for anything else. I like shooting with natural light and I don't really need anything else. I will often take a Sharpie and a sandwich bag just to be able to write on the film and make a note of what it was and keep it in a safe place where I know where everything is, and kind of help you deal with your archival purposes, I guess. I don't think anyone really knows. There's constantly really cool, exciting things coming up on Kickstarter. Cool companies trying to push the boundaries. But there is also constantly things being discontinued. And I think, for me personally, I don't really need anything other than the companies to still produce the film that I want to shoot. There isn't necessarily a need for a breakthrough of a new redefining camera, because the process has been tried and tested for so long that everyone knows that it's good already. There could be improvements on the availability of good home scanning equipment, but I don't think that's likely to happen anytime soon. I think instant film's going to get a lot of upgrades soon. Impossible are doing some really cool things and they're nearly there. But other than that, I'd just like to see some more companies kind of pushing the boundaries, like CineStill, of what we already have, but as long as Kodak and Fuji still make their stuff, I think I'll be happy for the meantime. I do borrow a fair few cameras off my friends to make the videos, but personally I tend to shop on eBay for cameras, even though you can run into a few problems, but I think I've kind of shopped on there for long enough that I kind of get the idea. There is some great shops in London as well. Aperture's really good. Or there's a place called Ford's in Manchester, I think. Those two places are really good if you want to pay usually a bit more of a premium to get a bit of guarantee, or usually the best condition possible. Like, I'm really torn by this because I love both of the cameras I have so much. I think I'd go with the Mamiya 7 and the 65mm, and probably with Portra 400. It is a bit more of an effort to carry around that camera, but the results never disappoint, and the size of the negative just makes a huge difference. When I first bought that camera, I didn't touch my Leica for a good few months. It's just, every time I'm surprised and amazed by how sharp it is. So I think that, with the availability to shoot portrait at so many different speeds and it just look constantly timeless, I think that's definitely what I'd go for. So thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope it was somewhat beneficial to you and that you enjoyed it, and hopefully see you next week with back to usual normal production thing. Thank you.